From the streets of social media, he's the algorithm assassin. The Reels ruler, the man who teaches Muslims how to make content without selling their soul. Founder of Creator Edge, where content meets conscience. A speaker, a filmmaker, a motivator, a brother whose DMs are probably more packed than Heathrow in July. 2.6 million followers, soon to take the stage at the Global Creator Summit in Kuala Lumpur, but already took countless people to Makkah and Medina. Leader of projects, caller to goodness, content chef who keeps it halal in the kitchen and creativity. You know the name, the Sunnah Guy.
Oh, Akbar, bro.
How is that?
I think we're done.
Yeah.
Subhanallah,
Was
bro.
that the intro?
That's the intro, bro.
Mashallah.
How are you doing? Assalamu alaikum.
Good salam.
Welcome. Now we got Naz in the building as well.
Why don't I get that intro?
No, sorry, bro. I'm running out of words. No, Naz, absolute killer. Naz, you and I just only met virtually
Yeah.
a month ago?
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Man.
And like
Good
already,
vibes, good vibes,
bro,
good
already
vibes.
it's like with bros.
It was that Zoom call, bro.
Yeah,
It was
bro,
that Zoom
that was a long Zoom call.
Yeah, it was good, man. Good to connect with like-minded brothers.
And do you know what? Thanks to Shoaib, because I messaged Shoaib and I was like, look, it came at an interesting time because we were kind of looking for someone to represent us at Freshly Grounded. And so those of you guys who don't know, Nas owns, it's Nas Nazir, what's like comfortable for you?
Yeah, Nas.
Nas
Nazir,
owns,
Nazir.
is one of the founders of 610,
Yeah.
610 Management, and absolutely killing it. He's like basically got the entire like Muslim scene under his umbrella right now, managing them and taking it. I think there needed to be a time, there needed to be like, there needed to be some kind of, not unionization, but like representation, a polished representation of like, you know, conservative Muslim creators. I think now you fill that gap, so congratulations.
Because you use the word conservative, we try to boost, I guess, the halal economy.
Yeah.
So being a Muslim creator is not the same as being a halal creator, right? So you could be a Muslim content creator, but also use music, women, etc. But I feel as though the monetization is a bit more difficult when you're in the halal economy because it's not as big.
Yeah.
And the audience is not as wide. So how do we grow that? How do we make it viable for these brothers who are doing good to not essentially have a Muslim tax?
Yeah,
and lose out essentially because they're not doing certain things in their content. So that's the game. So inshallah, it might be a long haul, but we as long as we're in it together, we can put the pieces together, like the management, building up startups and brands that are Muslim, who then have the marketing channels and funds to pump into Muslim influencers so that whole ecosystem can grow.
Of course.
Because a business cannot grow in this day and age without a social media presence. And Muslim content creators are some of the most trusted on social media, right? The trust score is really high. If a Muslim content creator puts something out, it's got a good conversion rate relative to others. So that's
Bro, you're smashing it, bro. Congratulations. I mean, it's big stuff, man. That's why I kind of got to touch Trevor. I was like, these guys are doing it proper, man. And then we ended up on that Zoom meeting, and it was nice, bro. We were having a nice long conversation. And ever since then, bro, it's like getting panic, like random phone calls, like, what are you doing?
You're gonna get a lot more of those, I'm telling you.
Yeah, exactly.
No, we have to keep everything in order.
Yeah, why didn't you pick him to speak to me first? That's
the truth, right?
Yeah,
because
it's true.
if that's not your speciality, and talking to these brands is not your speciality, or negotiating deals for yourself, why put yourself in a position where your hand is low?
Yeah, can I just say, I remember one time there was a meeting I had with some, I'm not going to say the name of the business, but basically they wanted to deal with us. And me, being in the da'wah space, being a Muslim, they approaching us and then saying to us, brother, we'll do this. I'm like, okay, cool, we'll chuck in an extra story. And Nazir is like on the call, because I'm having a digital call, he's like, what are you doing, bro? You're selling yourself short. Because as Muslim creators, we generally love to just give.
Yeah.
We want to do more. Because we don't want to sell hype or anything like that. Yeah. So I've got off the phone. He rings me straight away. He goes, bro, you need to leave it to me to do it, because this is why the halal economy does not grow. Is because people just want to keep giving, and that's not a problem. It's good to give, it's good to do, but you're going to get rinsed like that, and you're not going to grow, and you're going to get stifled, and you can't work on your projects, and you can't do everything else. And then that conversation led to something else, and he said to me, look, the reason I'm here is so that you can do da'wah. Yeah. And you can do what you need to do, and there's no one helping these people out. And honestly, subhanAllah, we've been on a crazy 2.5 year journey, and it's just, he's seen every kind of up and down of negotiations, of deals, of partnerships, of contracts. And the thing is that because he's seen me, and I've been somewhat the guinea pig, and I've kind of come out into this space and really tried to monetize it in a good way, he's now got that kind of muscle memory now where he can kind of help everyone else as well. And he's getting a lot more experience from dealing with everyone else battery exhausted.
So, camera cut out one of the batteries, new studio, learning things. Okay, so one of the things that you kind of touched on just now, Shaib, though, is the fact that you wanted to come in and build like the kind of this like economy, and actually like make money the right way through your creative platform. And I think that's noticeable. And I think like it's commendable because I think people unfortunately shy away from it.
Yeah.
There's two extremes. There's completely shying away from it, and then there's putting so much emphasis on it that it's like you become focused on the dunya. Not to say that there's a limit on how much you can make, but it's just the type of way you put focus on it. And what happens then is then you start unlocking haram means of making money, right? And so I think like what's been refreshing to see you do is come in and say, okay, let me build. Now that I built the following, how can we turn it into a sustainable model, and then teach other creators how to do the same thing? Which again, it's lovely to see that kind of life cycle. And see you do that.
Yeah, sorry, bro. Exactly on that point. I think the issue I've seen in this space is that the monetization gets built before the brand, and I think that's been essentially a blessing. And I was at AdCon recently in the UK, largest gathering of kind of creators and coaches and stuff like that, etc. And I was around people who are they only got 10,000 followers, etc. But they're making like £1 million a year, etc. But their whole page is all about marketing, You just come on their page and you see I can transform your body, I can transform your life, I can do this. And in that space, I just saw these guys like zombies. It's like all they're talking about is 10K, 100K. And those conversations were just draining. I just had to go to my room in the hotel and listen to some Quran. Because for me it was like, when you can't deliver on value, when you can't bring value in all the time, the only thing that you have left to do is just to kind of keep marketing. And so one of the things that I've focused on heavily, and maybe I don't earn as much as other people who are at this level of having 2.6 million followers or whatever, but there's a conscious reason for that, and that is because you kind of continue to deliver that value, and that is your main presence online, that value. Because I never joined online to make money. I joined it just as a pathway in COVID when there was no da'wah on the ground to use your online platform and then just scale from there, right? And then having someone like Nazir, wallahi, it's been just such a blessing because it's allowed me to create more content. People think, this is the thing, people think that my success is all me. Like they think basically because I film myself, I edit, I just do everything myself, etc. And it's nice and easy for me because I've created a system around it, right? I film twice a month, I script twice a month. 4 days of work, that creates 30 days of output. And each month we grow about 200,000 followers every month. And everyone's thinking, how are you doing this? Even in my community, people ask, how do you do this? How do you do this? That's mainly the question that I get. What they don't realize is that this man here has been behind the scenes, pulling the strings, making sure that the deals are lined up. So mentally, I don't have to focus on that. And what he also does is that he just kind of just nudges me in the right direction. Okay, don't do this, don't do that. You shouldn't say this, shouldn't say that, etc. Your image will get corrupted if you go and collab with this person, etc. We're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. Now, me to juggle with the content, be creative, give da'wah, do all those things, and still worry about all of that monetization side of things, bro, it's a headache, bro. And subhanAllah, I don't know how people actually do it. So for me, it's been so refreshing having someone just manage and deal with all of that and me getting on with the work that I'm doing, basically. So for me, alhamdulillah, that's why I think that Nazir's management agency, and it's just revolutionary, especially for the Muslim creators, purely because, as you said, halal creators don't know really how to monetize. And if we do try to monetize, it's like cheap marketing. And then your image gets tainted, and then you fatigue your audience, and then there's all the other things that come with it. But the fact of the matter is that he's actually really helped me channel the value proposition first. You do this, I'll deal with this. And then I don't have to speak to people, because what I was doing was, subhanAllah, people were asking, brother, can we get you for a mosque to come and give a lecture? I was thinking, man, I need to work in these businesses. I need to do this, whatever. What do I do? How much do I charge them? Okay, brother, can I? This is going to cost fuel cost, blah, 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 blah. The mosques are looking at me like, the hell is this guy, man? Who do you think he is? Now, having a front man or having someone to be able to deal with that, subhanAllah, your positioning is stronger. The posture is better, etc. There's a respectful relationship. You turn up to give a lecture, or you turn up to do a collaboration, or you make a poster, etc. Everyone's happy because when you have to deal with all the negotiations, you're the bad guy. because you have to market, you have to put a markup, a price on it, right? Because your time is worth something. Having him deal with all of that, wallahi, it's just been so refreshing, because we've never had anyone like this in the Muslim space. And there are non-Muslims, by the way, and there are even Muslims who don't understand the kind of halal economy. But with them, they won't understand your values. They'll give you deals with music, with women, with haram content and stuff like that, etc. And obviously, those are red lines for us. So
yeah, I think that's true. I think like you have to understand both sides. So like the deals that you can and can't do, and then also the money that like makes sense for you, which I think is hard to find that combination.
Yeah.
I've been approached by management before where they've been able to give me like really big deals, but it's like banging your head against the wall trying to explain what is and is not permissible, because it's like to an extent it becomes super intricate, right? Because it could be something that on the face of it looks halal, but it's like, well, here's why for my context it starts going into grey waters or whatever, right? So that's another thing. And actually what you just said about it being value driven and value focused is interesting. We're having some discussions with actually I've been very blessed to have some discussions with some like the top marketers in the world. And one of the discussions that's always stuck with me is I asked one of them, in this day and age, basically we're seeing like an increase in like low quality content. Should brands be going towards that direction? And a lot of brands are, right? And he was like, absolutely not. He's like, you have to look at the long term play, and don't like right now low quality is the thing, because obviously there's a huge increase in creators. They have access to mainly phones, and so like, you know, they're creating that, and so it's going in that direction, but it will always kind of come back around. So don't lose your authenticity because of what's the current trend, and you have to kind of have that balance as well, like being on trend but also like having your authenticity. And then the thing about the money, what's really interesting is over like the past kind of like month or so, or like really 3 months, as I've known that I'm going to be kind of like going back into working on Freshly Grounded full time, in my head, the original plan, like in January when I made the decision, was right, I'm going to pick up clients and I'm going to do all my client work, my marketing consultancy, and then I'm going to fund FG. Yeah. And it was the dumbest decision I could have made. And alhamdulillah, I like, got out of that really quickly. And I'm still fulfilling the clients that I had closed, but because there's two big issues with it. One is that to think that you will be able to do all that work, all the sales, all that kind of stuff, and then still have the mental energy and effort to then grow another brand and build another brand. This studio that you guys just came in with, like, it was nuts that we've turned this around in 48 hours. Thanks, by the way, to Built Fixers. Absolutely smashed it. Got Built Fixers right there. We wouldn't even able to do that because I wouldn't have had the time to even like arrange that with them and stuff like that. You have to be full time on it. And that was the one reason. But a second reason, kind of akin to your point, is that my brand for about a month on Instagram just became trying to sell consultancy, bro. And it was like trying to give value, but the idea of the value was like very in your face marketing to a point of sale. And I didn't love that because I was like, I just want to give. If you look at Freshly Grounded's Instagram, for example, and the growth that it's had, it's all pure value, just banter. It's just clips of like entertainment value. There's never anything salesy on Freshly Grounded. And I kind of just want. I know that that's the secret to growth. I just want to do that more often, just like that value plus consistency. So then going down this investment route, what it's unlocked for me is gone. You don't have to worry about funds now. Run the company how you want to run the company. All right, I want this type of table because I think it's going to do good on AI for the podcast. I want these kind of cameras. I want these kind of clips. I want these kind of editors because that's where we can give value back to the people, right? Whereas the reverse, it was a kind of lopsided mindset. I wanted to ask a quick question based on the growth. If you had to look back now, all that time between COVID and now, where you've grown this following, if you had to put it down to one word, but the word cannot be, because I know the default is from Allah. It's qadr. So if you have to, we accept that. After that, if there's a word that you could put down to the kind of like the reason for your success or the growth, what would that word be? And I have a word in mind. I want to know if it's the same word. Because the word that I have in mind, by the way, I'm 99.9% sure is the correct answer. But I want to hear you, see what you think.
Obsession.
That's a good one. Okay. Yeah, that's very good.
Obsession.
Yeah, because you do have to be obsessed, don't you?
You have to be slightly gone mentally. Yeah, there's got to be this healthy place where you just like a horse in the last lap with blinkers on. You can't look left or right, and that has to stem from something. It has to come from somewhere. And sorry, Fair, I know you're going to mention your word, but I'll just elaborate on that. So one of the things that I've just recently launched is a project called the Criterion Group. And essentially, we raised 130,000 in 5 days in Ramadan. Never, ever thought I'd be able to do anything like that. And it's basically me coming back to the grassroots, the groundwork, etc., and helping to kind of build da'wah out from, communities and pockets of brotherhoods across, the UK and the West. And my friend said to me, he said, Shuaib, I think the Sunnah Guy and this whole journey has all led to this one point. That basically everything you're doing, everything you just reverse engineer it, etc. Why are you making these videos? Oh, okay, look back. What's the intention behind it? Okay, to grow your platform. If you grow your platform, what happens if you grow your platform? Then you can have more audience, then you can have more reach, then you can basically fundraise more, and then you can impact more. And so I think that's always been on my mind and my heart, and therefore what it's led to is this level of obsession that you just basically obviously you create the systems and you create the workflows and you create the automations, you create all that sort of stuff, etc. But I know there's another word which is consistency. However, that doesn't come before obsession. You have to be absolutely obsessed. You have to have this level of just, they will call you crazy, they will call you mad, they will look at you in a way that where the eyebrows are raised, etc. But that's when you know that the real work is actually getting done. Why? Because that's the path that's the path of resistance that most people are not willing to go through. And the question essentially is, the harder it gets, the happier I get. Why? Because I know that this path is the path that most people won't be willing to walk down. And when they won't be willing to walk down, we simply know how supply and demand works in the market share. It simply is a case of supply and demand. Is that there is not enough supply down this path here, but there is ample demand because people want to see something new, something different, something fresh. And the fact that you stay consistent and obsessed creates that layer of separation from most people who won't do that work. So I feel that that's been the reason for it, bro. Even when I made the movie and when I am on social media, etc., those were things that weren't done before. And I kind of look back and I'm thinking, well, hold on a minute. How was I able to make the first ever Islamic movie produced in the UK for cinemas? Why? And then I look back and I'm like, okay, editing 13 hours a day. You've got to be stupid to do that, bro. It broke my back doing it. Like literally, I had a slip disc editing so many days because my body got so weak. And I was thinking, I would never do that now. It just doesn't make sense from a kind of efficiency perspective. It makes no sense. But in the moment there, to build that skill, you have to be obsessed. Even with social media now, etc. Right? I'm out in the park at 5 a.m. in the morning, literally before the sun comes out, etc. People are walking their dogs, walking past me, looking at me with this flipping setup in the park with my mic stand there, my boom mic, etc. 2 camera setups, a suitcase with a change of clothes. Like literally, right? People are looking at this. When they walk past me, they just give me the dirtiest looks. It's just like, the hell is this guy doing? 5 a.m. in the morning, what are you doing? Anyway, and I thought, and that's when I get happy. Because I'm just like, the more you feel that you are slightly out of your depth and it's slightly uncomfortable, that's when you get happy. That's the path of resistance that you're pursuing. So I think that obsession is probably the word that I would put it down to, bro.
What made you go from the room to the park?
Again, you have to, it's basically understanding and knowing that audience fatigue, it just became so common. And then I realized, what is there something that no one else is doing that I could do? And I'm probably
back then.
Back then, yeah.
It's pivoted a few times though.
Yeah.
This is the thing. Some of these things have been kind of curated as well, planned.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean.
No, you can see everything that you do is intentional.
Yeah. So the thing is that the reason we actually did that, went from the kind of the room to the park bench, bro, was because of the fact that I realized, wallahi, I was out there, I was running out of ideas, had creative block. I was like, man, I've got to think, what should I do? Sit on the bench, create quotes, nasheed, something like that. What do we do? Then one day I just sat there and my cameraman I got him to get my favorite lens, which is a 70 to 180 Tamron, full zoom out, compressed it so nicely, created a solid bokeh on a cloudy day. I just said, like, oh, just try something there, just go there, move over there, try, I don't know. He was just with me about 4 or 5 hours, and he was just there, he was doing it, and he said, oh, this looks sick. I was like, all right, film it. And then I had my mic with me, and then I sat on the bench, and I was like, being overweight is hard, right? And then I just started this one script last May. And then I put that on, and my page was stagnating at the time. My page was around about 800,000 followers, etc. And it was on 800K, in that range, from 800 to 900K for about 2 months. And then I posted that video, and it got 10 million views. And I was like, okay. Then I started analyzing, and then I posted another one, and then it got 14 million views. I was like, there's something going on here. Wait, there's something going on here. Something's very different here. And then what I did was simply just double down on what worked. And when I started doubling down on what worked, then all I have to do now is I know I've got an MVP, a minimum viable product. I've got something that works. What do I do now? You basically scale through systems. You basically create systems around it so everything is frictionless. For example, I used to take a C-stand to the park to have my mic.
I saw that, yeah.
Bro, I removed the C-stand. I've now got, the normal mics they use in the masjid, just like the stands they use in the masjid for a mic.
Yeah.
And you can fold it and you can hold it in one hand. Now I use that. But
Do you know what I used instead of a C-stand, by the way? This might come useful for you. I had to travel with a C-stand once. I couldn't, but I needed to hold these lights up, right?
Yes.
I went to the masjid, and I was like bugging out, like, how am I going to solve this problem? How am I going to solve this problem? I had to do this location shoot, but I didn't want to carry big stuff. And they're heavy. And so I'm in the masjid, I'm praying, and just before Salah, or just after Salah, I look up, and where the stands where they hold the kitab, but like a big mushaf. I was looking at it and I was like, oh, that's like exactly what I need, because it's small enough to be transportable, but it looks thick, like it can handle a big light. Yeah. So I was like, so I took a picture of the brand name, or I remembered it, and I went home and I searched on Amazon, and they basically do, like the thing on the drum that's like the cylinder that goes.
Yeah.
They do stands for that, and that's what it was. God. Yeah, and so I bought it. So I have in my house a stand for the drum thing, and it works a really good.
You need to send me that,
bro. Now that we got a studio, I don't need it. Take mine. I'll sing you those. I'll give it to you. Yeah,
Khalas, inshallah, no problem. I mean, because that's where it all comes into, is that you create the system around it. So I was taking a C-stand, bro. I had to do 2 trips from my car to the bench. Yeah. It's only like a minute, but it was like
it's long, bro. Yeah.
But it all adds up. Why? Because when you have that friction point there, mentally, when you want to do it next time, you get this anxiety. It's like going to the gym. If you don't enjoy it, etc. If you don't, what happens? You get this anxiety, and then it's a compound effect, right? It's like if you don't brush your teeth today, it won't make a difference. If you don't brush your teeth tomorrow, no one will tell. In 5 days, people might tell, but they won't say anything because they're going to offend you. If you don't brush your teeth in 5 years, the dentist is pulling it out. When did that happen? Did that happen today, or did that happen in 5 years? That happened today. Because a choice that was easy to do and easy not to do, you chose not to do it, so it compounded against you invisibly in 5 years. And this is the point being, is that when things compound, you just don't see them. Oh. You don't see these small little friction points that basically mentally it blocks you from going and sitting in the park bench, etc. All of these things, all of these small little 1% add up. And I've learned something, and that is that do what you can in your life when you're creating content or pursuing anything to remove these 1% away. Whatever you can do, and that just creates the ease of process. Make things easy. Put the mushaf next to your desk. Like what I do is the first thing when we get to the hotel, first thing I do is get my mushaf out. Well, I know I'm going to not read it. I know it's going to be a problem, right? I know. So I have it there just so that it becomes something that is non-conscious. That is just quickly just grab it, right? Read for 2 seconds and then you carry on reading, right? So anyway, so I've kind of curated my life like that, my desk, everything, etc. And even I see the lights and the way you've done it. You don't want to come here and think about setting things up.
Bro, we were talking about this yesterday, isn't it, Ash? We were saying about how, because I bought the C, you see this empty C stand there, we never meant to do it like this, but that was basically meant for an overhead light, because if you have that kind of thing, but this wall can't handle it, so then we were going to put on pillars, and I thought, do you know what, rather than the C stands, let me just put these up permanently and just have to switch them on. It makes such a big difference.
I love this, bro. Wallahi, the first thing I saw, bro, was these, and I was like, I absolutely love that, because that's exactly what I'm going to be doing in my studio.
Bro, yeah, man. The systems thing, of course, like everybody's favorite quote, James Clear. You don't fall to the. You don't rise to the level of your ambitions. You fall to the level of your systems. Right, we're going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to go to Dhuhr, and the adhan went off, so we're going to go there and come back. You guys watching this will not notice anything, but when we come back, I'm going to tell you my word, bro, that I want to describe, that I think is the reason for your success. Okay. I think obsession's a good one, but I still think my one might win it.
Fine.
All right. Yeah.
Because that's quite big.
Yeah. I'm happy to talk about it, man. Okay, but first, let me give you the word.
All right.
So, Paul Graham, who is founder of, who's invested in so many successful companies that I can't even name, right, or number. He said on his blog, he's like, for years and years and years, people always ask me, what is like the one sentence or trait or something that you can basically that is a through line between all like successful leaders, business owners, right? People who have created a successful company. And he goes, I've always struggled with it because I finally got it down to 2 words. And he said that those words are relentlessly resourceful. And I think that if I look at your growth, if I look at your growth, bro, I think that the biggest thing that I can look at is resourcefulness. I think the fact that you know how to film, you know how to edit, you know how to light a set. Bro, you said obsessiveness, but there's so many people who are obsessed, but they don't know what the next step is. That, whatever your upbringing was, or whatever training you went through, where you can look at, bro, you came in here and first thing you looked at was, I do that, by the way. Yeah. When I'm being interviewed on TV, so I'm like, what camera is that? But the whole reason I got the FX30s was, bro, because I was invited to a podcast, like in some professional podcast studio. I was like, what cameras are they? And I was looking at how they're lighting it. I was like, I didn't know you could, because I used to have one of these Amaran lights. Yeah. And I was like, the lighting's always off. Bro, and when I realized they're putting one on each person and then they're doing a backlight and all that kind of stuff. So then you learn that, but then you become resourceful. Bro, all our thumbnails, our edits, everything's always, it was like, okay, figure it out, get it done. And that's you, bro. I know from the day I met you, first day I think I met you was when you were in the Fresh Guy studio, the old one.
Yeah,
right?
with Tim.
Yeah, with Tim. And you came down and you were doing 2 sides at a time. And you were talking about how you're filming it, directing it, you're editing it. Yeah. Like, and I'm thinking, this guy's I didn't have the word for it then. But then, along by the growth that you've had, I didn't even have to ask you. I know, because when you know how to edit, but not just how to edit, but how to edit that level. Because remember your first videos, I don't think you do them as much now, but when you was doing those videos, the indoor ones, and it was like, you're talking about, 34% of people, and it's like 34%. It's like, I'm like, bro, I know he's editing that. That's not a clip editor, bro. That's like Shaim's getting edited. But and so I think resourcefulness has been a massive thing.
Can I just say something?
Style of videos is,
well,
I forgot about those videos.
Listen. Let me just tell you something. If there was one word that would trump what I said, wallahi, it's that.
Yeah.
You're so right. And I didn't even notice that because the thing is, I don't know. I think it maybe came from growing up in a.
Bro, it's second nature for you.
Yeah, like in a poor house, basically.
Right.
And my dad's still a taxi driver, right? So, we were always the poorer cousins.
Okay.
Do you get it?
Yeah, I get it.
We kind of me and my brothers, we shared a room for until I was like 21. Do you know what I mean? And then one of them went off to Medina University, etc. So his trajectory whole changed, whatever. But the point being is that it was always a case of make use of what you got, basically. And that's crazy, bro, subhanAllah, because now I'm slowly moving away from that and I don't like it. Like, I'll be honest with you.
It's
like
what you've known.
This is the thing. Because when you have a lot of things, etc., sometimes it slows you down. It's so weird, bro. It's so weird. Like, when you have a lot, you're slower.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, when I didn't have much, bro, I was like blitzing through everything, bro.
You know what I think it is? I think, and I don't know because I haven't made it there yet, yeah? But I've gone for the resourcefulness thing. Like, bro, with Fresh Ground, I was doing all the filming, the producing, the editing, the thumbnails, the exporting the clips, even with the live events, planning the live events, executing live events, being on stage for the live events. And that's fun, and it gets you to where most people can't get to because that's too much friction, like you said. It gets you to the peak. But then what happens is when you get to that peak, like you're going through that process now, like we've just done our first like official full-time hire, someone coming from the UK sorting out visas, like this guy's wife's quitting her job, he's quitting his job, like it's serious. But you have to start like going things because at a point it becomes like, well, why am I doing my thumbnails? Why can't I get a footage done and then go, bro? Even now we've had full-time editors on our official grind for like 3 years. Even now, a lot of the edits I still do, because I have no idea. I just want to execute how I want to edit. But yesterday I done like a BTS filming of the Fresh Grind vlog, like setting up the studio. Yesterday it pained me, bro. But I was like, I'm gonna quickly get this edit done because I just want to like knock it out. Last night I opened my laptop and I thought, you know what? I'm going to be up. I got a 4:30 start. I could do with a sleep. You know what? I got all the files. I put them on the drive. I just messaged my editor. I was like, this is the vlog. And I know it'll get done. And it will get done. We'll get down to a better degree than I can do it. But it's like you have to let go of some of that control.
Yes.
So I think, back to what I was saying about the peak, I think there's a level that in order to get to the peak, you have to be resourceful.
Absolutely.
And then there's this gap in between where you could fall off, where you start letting go of some of those tasks and giving them to others. But if you don't do it in the right way and as effective as you can, and at a big enough scale where you've got people doing everything and at a really good quality, then you can afford. But you got to get to the other side where you do have a whole team doing it at a really high level, or even if it's not a team, but whatever, it's being done effectively. That's the next level, because now the biggest asset that Shoaib can give to this entire brand or any of your businesses is your brain. If you need to now be able to go, imagine if we like taught a class in Creator Edge that was like this.
Yeah.
But only you're going to be able to think like that, right? Because you're baby. But then now, or maybe not now, maybe now you still teach, but eventually you need to get to a point where you can think of an entire series and you can actually get that series done. But just by you like having the idea and then like working with them for it, but then it gets done without you. And you'll eventually get to that point, which is where you're probably at now, getting to now.
I think for via the accountancy business I work with a lot of founders, startups, and a lot of these challenges that you guys are talking about, it's the same throughout, right? How do we move away from being the operator to the ideator? Right? That transition for someone who's a lone founder is really tough. Delegating, creating the systems, trusting someone to do it as good as you. Letting go of that, like it's like your baby. Letting go of that, someone else will do it. How do we get through that hump? And that's what it is, creating those systems where you can fall back. Whoever you're delegating to might not do it as good as you, and you might have to accept that, but they fall back to the lowest standard of your system that you put in.
Yeah.
SubhanAllah, like it's basically this concept of working in your business or working on your business, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, when you're working in your business, you understand it a lot better. And this is the thing about hiring as well, right? So I went to the AdCon, Stephen Bartlett was there, and he had like an hour and a half kind of sofa chat, right? And literally every question he got, it was all about hiring, human resources personnel. I was thinking, this guy's obsessing over this thing. And then I learned how hard and I realized how hard this thing actually is, bro. Is that, I've learned that I'm a bad hirer when I don't know what the task actually is. So what I like to do, and this is the thing, bro, what I like to do is I like to get hands-on, so knee-deep into it, bro, to the point where I actually understand the whole concept and I understand what works, who's good, who's not, and then I want to hire somebody, and that has worked for me. But the problem I find is sometimes hiring becomes a vanity metric where basically we feel businessy. We feel like we're offloading. We feel like we're delegating. And it's like a vanity thing where you basically do it to make yourself feel a lot better, but you don't even actually understand the concept or the scope of kind of what this is. Now, I understand coding, technical knowledge, stuff like that, etc. is very difficult, right? But other skills, basic editing, maybe even thumbnail design, give it a shot. Just try it. Just go for it. Just do it. Why? So you can understand and get into the nitty-gritty a little bit as well. That time investment will save you long term, right? Now obviously AI is coming in and you can do thumbnails with AI and stuff like that. But I'm talking about, other skills, whether it's sales, whether it's marketing, creating a funnel, all these sort of things, etc. Do the funnel yourself. Make it break, make it fall apart. Try your newsletter, try these things. Why? Because once you've done it and you've gone through that and you've gone in, then okay, cool, we're weak here, we're strong here, we can hire this type of person because we need him for X, Y, Z. Whereas if you're just like, we need to create a funnel, okay, let me pay $5,000 to this person, or let me pay $6,000 to him. That I feel is lazy hiring, bro, and that's what really annoys me. Really annoys me when I'm with my team. Basically, when we're just like, let's just pay someone to do this. And I know why pay someone to do this when you can. When maybe it's a Pakistani mentality, I don't know, but it's like you can basically go in and try it and do it and fix it and try it yourself. You never know. You might be very good at it, but I find that if I give it a go first, and then I realize, okay, this is too much for me, right? I can't do this. Then you can hire, but you can hire whilst you're informed.
Bro, informed, exactly. Because otherwise you can get taken for a mug. Someone can be like, oh, yeah, $5,000. We built
exactly.
the funnel. And you're like,
how do you delegate something that you don't know, have no idea to do?
Right.
Exactly
That's fundamental, isn't it? How you delegating something that you don't know what
I agree.
you're doing. Yeah.
I agree fully, man.
How much of your time now, Naz, gets spent on the accountancy business? Considering you've got all these businesses now.
It's labor intensive.
How many businesses do you have?
I have the accountancy business. So that's my main, that's how I met Shoaib through the accountancy stuff actually. So I have a practice. I'm a chartered accountant. So I have the practice, and that's how I meet business owners and work with startups. And then I have an education recruitment business, and then I have the management business. But it was funny because those two businesses, the latter businesses, actually came from the first. So I met people. So I met people who I then, for example, collaborated with, and we started something new together. So all these people are my accountancy clients. Shoaib was initially my accountancy client.
Yep.
And now look, we're together now.
It's such a crazy story as well, subhanAllah. Like, he got in touch with me randomly because I had a HMRC fine, right?
Yeah.
And
Good old HMRC.
And subhanAllah, what ends up happening, I've got this fine, it was like £800, like, and I was thinking to myself, what the hell do I do? What happened? Late filing fee. What does that even mean? Right, I don't know. Anyway,
Love those, man.
yeah, so they love him, right? So basically, what ended up happening is that I kind of got him on and he helped me out for free. And I was like, why the hell is he helping me out for free? And then he said to me, he's like, anyone in the da'wah space, I'd love to, help, etc. And I realized that, subhanAllah, this brother's sincere. He did this for free. And I'm like, whoa, like I've got these kind of Pakistani uncles who are like running an accountancy firm, and like they're just getting me pressing submit after doing some calculations and charging me £500. And they don't have a relationship with me, nothing. They don't reply to my messages, whatever. I have to email them several times and then they have to do it. Like, this guy's just come in and he's on the phone, he's speaking to me, he's giving me advice, he's sorting me. I'm like, I need someone like this in my life. Wallahi, I remember that first conversation so clearly. It was for about 2 hours, bro. First convo. And I was like, I need someone like this. I need someone just to guide me, just to help me, whatever, etc. And I thought he was going to charge me a lot. He didn't charge me anything. I was like, what the hell? Why are you not, like, do you want something from this? And I even said to him, let me pay you. And he was like, later. He kept on putting it off, right? And subhanAllah, then I realized that his niyyah and intention was to always give back and support. Wallahi, I've never met someone, I'm just going to be honest, I've never met someone as giving as Nazir. Like literally, in terms of, he goes above and beyond and out of his way to support people. And he's, this guy.
That's my guy.
Listen. I said to Nazir on first vocal. Yeah, I go to Nazir on first vocal. I was like, listen, bro. Like, we've been around for a while. I know how these things work. I know the standard deal is structured like this, but I'll be honest. Like, this is like what's more attractive for us to like structure a deal like this. And he goes, bro, I'll do you one better. And he gave us a better deal for us.
Yes, bro.
And I was like, huh?
Bro, in our contract, yeah.
I'll be honest, he was...
listen, in our contract,
he negotiated himself upwards.
Listen. Bro, in our contract, right? Bro, he's got a term with me and he sent me the wrong contract. I was so happy with it, bro. I was like, okay, your fees increase next year. I'm like, fantastic. I'm so happy. I'm great. He's like, no, I sent you the wrong one, bro. Don't sign that one. Don't sign that one, bro. Our fee is fixed when it's not going to change. I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense, bro. You're doing all of this work. Yeah. And so I realized and I learned that, subhanAllah, like this brother, he's like, he's really mastered the art of knowing that good will come back to you.
Yes.
Hal jaza'ul ihsani illa al-ihsan. You know
bro,
what I mean?
I know he's going to hate me saying this, yeah? But he's not on the podcast, so he has to deal with it. My man there, bro, exact same, bro. Like, just like so much, like the dude is like mad resourceful, and the amount that he will do for the deen, for the brothers and stuff like that. And like when it comes to talking money, bro, man will just run away.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You can't find him. Bro.
Should I tell you, well, for me personally, how I'm able to do that is because it's from a position of strength. I've got other things that are coming in that I don't need to take that little percentage from him. I don't care about 5% from you. Do you see what I mean? So that's the other side of it that you're not, we're not talking about. I've got other things that are not contingent on this management, because the fundamentals of accountancy are always going to be there. The fundamentals of education recruitment or education sector is always going to be there.
Well, actually, what's really important about that point though is that that's why it's so important to fill your own cup.
Yeah,
Wallahi,
right?
bro.
Because then you can, and the TEDx talk that I just gave was about this exact thing, right? I'll spill the beans here because I think it's important and pertinent for this conversation. I was basically saying that in Honduras, there's a bridge called the Choluteca Bridge, which was built in the 1990s. And months after, and basically, if you know about Central America, you'll know that they get loads of storms and hurricanes and stuff like that. And so in Honduras, they were like, right, we're going to build a bridge that's unbreakable. You cannot defeat it. No storm will beat it. It'll be perfect. And so they actually built it, and it's called the Choluteca Bridge, which went over the river. Then a couple months later, a massive hurricane came called Hurricane Mitch, and it flattened towns, everything, like destroyed the country. But the Choluteca Bridge was completely fine, yeah. But what happened is that because the storm was so strong, it had actually shifted the river, and so now the bridge stood over dry land. And so in telling that story, I basically the kind of like lesson I gave in the talk was, what good is the strongest bridge if no one needs to walk over it, no one needs to cross it? And so as people, we sometimes build ourselves up so much that, but then if we're not useful to people, if we're not benefiting others, then what's the point in us, right? However, I do turn around, this is the point that's pertinent, which is, I then gave a framework on how to live a life where you're kind of benefiting others, right? And the first step of that framework is, the framework is pour, P-O-U-R. And the first step of that framework is prepare, which means fill your own cup. Be the person, because like I said, you can't help others if you yourself are broken. So fix yourself first, make yourself strong, like work on those things, and then it is O, which is observe, U, which is uplift people, but quietly. I said like not every single good deed needs to be a serving humanity day 4 TikTok series. And then R, repeat, because this is a lifestyle. It's not a one-off. It's not, serving others is not a special occasion. It should be done in small acts every single day. But I thought that was probably, because what you're saying is actually really important that people don't think about. You have to get the balance right. You have to be able to strengthen yourself. The fact that you can come from a position of strength is what's allowing you to do this.
Yeah, and I can give my time, I can give my resources. I can, we speak probably every day for the last 2 years. Bearing in mind, I met him when he was on about 80k followers. So this whole 2 million and whatever millions is happening now on social media. It's just literally grown exponentially. So I helped the right guy, to be honest. I backed the right horse.
Yeah, of course.
But remember, he was like, I'm going to grow to this much. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I used to think, mate, it sounds like another, obviously social. I'm not really into social media at the time. So I was like, this is all new space, right? Yeah, I'm going to, inshallah, I'm going to make this grow to this much by this time. I was like, okay, that sounds quite a lot. Like, hundreds of thousands of followers. I was like, all right, cool. But every single time he said X, it's happened.
Yeah, bro.
And you know what I would say? From my observation, he's pivoted at just the right times.
Yeah, it's important.
This is the key, because when he did certain type of content, like you said, the videos that were kind of the editing, he pivoted. The growth didn't stop. It's as if we were liaising with each other on what the strategies were, but we caught the rise. We sold at the points. At the highest point on every pivot,
that's very difficult.
We sold at the top.
Yeah, that was
crazy.
There was this the whole sensory overload edits were coming to like a kind of like a saturation point.
Okay.
And like the Hormozy style edits, right?
Yeah.
Just like the things everywhere, the background going crazy, like that. People just got fed up of it,
right? And
so we were like, let's just do something unedited, just pure raw emotions, and let's just keep it so authentic.
But you're being humble here, because even though it's raw and authentic, because of your cinema background, it still looks cinematic. Even the raw, it's not being recorded on a Android. You know what I mean?
No.
So you're being very selective with your lights and your lenses.
So for instance, like as in, I'm not going to go all the secrets away, but I'll give some of them away, and that is that the day that I film. So there's two requirements that I have when I film. I obviously have to make sure my scripts and everything else is ready, etc. I know what I'm saying, but then at the same time, the day has to be cloudy, and I need to get a haircut. Just literally the two things. That's it, right? Yeah.
Can't blame man for wanting a trim. You know what I mean? We all did our hair before this episode. Let's be honest.
we legit did. Because the point being, bro, is that the way I see it is that, and this is going to be a bit of a different discussion. Don't want to go too deep into it, but it's like, subhanAllah, I learned and I realized very quickly, and he was the one that pushing me into this. Bro, I was wearing like my tracksuit bottoms, etc. when I was like making these videos and stuff. He goes to me, "What the hell are you doing? You need to change up. You need to switch up. You need to make it different." I said, "Well, what? I don't understand why. Why do I need to be?" He goes, "Bro, you don't understand. Your positioning needs to be stronger.
Yeah.
It needs to be much better, because the thing is, if you look like a mug, you'll be treated like a mug." Yeah. And I was like,
"It's a hard message to give
to someone." It was very difficult.
It can be quite awkward telling someone, change the way you look, change the way you dress. So some of the pivots were not content related. Yeah. This is the key thing as well. When you're creating the imagery, like you're saying about the weather, the haircut, the dress, some of these things are not actually editing videos, your camera. Yeah. So these are the subtle things we go down to.
Sometimes them awkward conversations are the ones that lead to the most growth.
Wallahi, they do. Bro, when he said this to me, I was so resistant. I was like,
how do I tell him?
But I like my Nike top. but I like this, bro. And he goes, "Bro, what are you doing, bro?" And then he, alhamdulillah, we managed to kind of get a deal with Indeed. Alhamdulillah, thanks to Nazir, he managed to bag that, and then basically we got literally a full 2 massive boxes loads of clothes.
He's got an excuse now.
So I'm
still unpacking them.
so now we got that, alhamdulillah, and then we kind of changed it, etc. the way it goes. And then I noticed, I'm like, hold on a minute. Jack Grealish started following me, Michael Essien, Gail Clichy, Mario Götze, Usain Bolt.
No way.
What's Jesse Lingard doing flipping, liking all my posts?
Andy
and
Cole.
Well, yeah, Andy Cole following
No
me.
way.
I was like, hold on a second. These are like my heroes, bro. These are people that I've been, grown up watching,
Yeah,
etc.
yeah.
Why they're all like resharing my stuff, all loving my content, all sharing it. Flipping all of these celebrities, all these filmmakers, Hollywood actors, etc. Like the biggest players in the whole world, etc. They're all watching, resharing, and reposting my content.
Does that make you conscious about the Islamic angle of it?
Okay. You've opened this kind of worm, right?
The first couple of episodes.
Right. Like, how long do we have, bro? You've opened that can of worms, right? I didn't think you were going to do that.
No, that's good.
But subhanAllah. Okay, so obviously this is the first time I'm ever saying this because I've never actually said this before, and I don't really want everyone to hear this, but I think it's good for people to hear it. And I think this is a Muslim podcast, generally speaking, but I think it's good for people to know. Everything now has become so conscious, right? And the way I dress, the way I talk, the way I curate my videos, my scripts, and what I say. And the reason is, bro, is because I've noticed that half my followers, probably more than half, are non-Muslims.
Really?
Yes, bro.
That surprised me.
US audience as well.
You were 15% US audience.
Because your stuff, first of all, if you think about it deeply, it's grounded in Islam, and Islam is a solution for all life. Allah is a creator of everyone, right? And so when you speak to someone's fitrah, they just get it. But I'm intrigued.
Okay. What happened as we were coming as we were getting into the car? What happened?
Literally, we were getting into the car, and then a brother just came up to him. I see your videos, and obviously I seen his name tag. It wasn't a Muslim name. Arthur. So he was telling him, how do you know? Obviously, we always give the time of day, alhamdulillah. He always gives the time of day to anyone who comes up to him. But he said, are you Muslim? I said, no.
He said...
And this was a guy at the hotel, just a
lobby guy.
Like the cars, the lobby guy.
He basically said, I'm a Christian, but whenever you post a video, the first like is from me.
Bro, so
guy at the hotel.
So I don't believe... So around 50% of the audience is non-Muslim.
More than 50, bro. I'd say now it's pivoted towards a non-Muslim audience.
So what does that mean for you?
Okay, very good question, right? Firstly, I don't want it to come across as like, I'm some kind of person that's just like trying to like catch them out. Like, it's not like that, right? It's, as you said, Faisal, I love what you said. Islam is a solution for all of mankind. But the way it's packaged is done to appease an audience that's already converted. Always. Turban, scarf, Islam, kind of like rhetoric, etc., right? And what ends up happening, bro, and this is the chat I had with Mufti, bro. I was speaking to him about this, right? We had like a very brief discussion regarding kind of packaging and how it should be and what audiences, right? I'll give you an example. Mufti Menk, for example, not everyone's cup of tea. But my auntie who's a non-hijabi and doesn't pray, she watches him. I would rather that and her go to Jannah than, appease a few people and then basically, her not ever have anyone she can relate with, etc. And he said this on your podcast, by the way, right? Mufti said it on your podcast. He's like, I am not for everybody, right? I am for a specific few people, but you have to.
Bro, he told me on the phone, when I first did an episode with him, I was like, "Would you want?" He goes, he said something like, the one thing stuck out. He goes, "People, if you pray 5 times a day, don't listen to me."
Yeah, but that's crazy.
He's like, "I'm not for you."
Yes.
He said that he's like I'm like so when he said that I was like, "Wow, like he's."
That's my
Yes.
It's that, to hear that, it's a bit taken back, but actually it makes sense,
bro.
Because 1.4 billion people, 1.5 billion Muslims.
So this is the thing: are there more Muslims or non-Muslims? There's more non-Muslims. Okay, cool. What are they getting? Really and truly, bro, they're not getting anything unless they come across like a Speaker's Corner debate or whatever, or they're interested in that. Guarantee you, Andy Cole is not interested in Speaker's Corner or any Muslim. I guarantee you, Jesse Lingard is not scrolling through Muslim TikTok. But here's the crazy thing: the moment you follow me, guess what comes up underneath? Omar Suleiman, Mufti Menk, other big pages, except Islamic pages. Here's the thing about it. This is the aim, and we can go into this a bit deeper, but people need to understand there's a strategy behind this. The moment you follow my page, what people don't understand is recommended pages comes after that, and the moment you start following another page, so what Meta does is that the moment you follow a second page from the people who we recommended, because the moment you follow the Sunnah Guy, first person is Omar Suleiman, Yaqeen, Mufti Menk, all of that, etc., Abu Taymiyyah, all of that, right? The moment you press follow on any of those, you're locked in now. That's when the algorithm, what it does to you is that it starts to just every now and again just sprinkle a bit, sprinkle a bit in your face. Now imagine everyone's scrolling, right? Everyone's scrolling. So when these guys are scrolling who are non-Muslims, for example, yeah? Let's just take it, Jesse Lingard, for example, right? He binge watched my content for like 2 weeks, right? He's liking everybody post. When he's scrolling, bro, and he's going on his page, just random on his feed, he'll see a post, maybe you might like this, maybe you might like this, a post about the deen, Islam, or something like that, etc. And what then ends up happening, bro, is that when he sees more of those, it just starts trickling into his fitrah. You just need to awaken this one little thing in there.
Wow.
You
But
get
I
it,
thought
bro?
he was going to say trickle into his feed, bro. Man said trickle into his fitra.
Yeah, bro. All you have to do, bro. You know, our job as du'at is only one, and that is to awaken that fitrah. Just get in there somehow. Can you get in there, right? And so now I'm actually writing a book, right? But this book is not going to have the word Allah in it. Why? Because this book is going to be for my non-Muslim audience and my Muslim audience, but it's going to have a hadith quotations, but the Prophet ﷺ in the bottom, and a QR code at the end if you want to learn who Muhammad ﷺ is.
Wow.
You with me?
Yeah.
So what we're doing now is we're making another conscious pivot, which is the stuff that we release, etc. It's for a world mass audience. Bro, can you believe that £130,000 that was raised for my project, £15,000 came from non-Muslims.
Wow.
£15,000 from non-Muslims, bro, right, in those 5 days. And I'm thinking, what is this, right? And subhanAllah, bro, if I now go out, wear a turban, stand on a minbar, Qala Allah, Qala Rasul, I could do that, bro. Been doing that for 15 years. But now I realize that who needs da'wah more? The people in the masjid or the people who will never maybe hear about Islam?
No, of course, bro. Look, there's important and there's importance for both as well, right?
Exactly that. No,
but you're right, because it has to be packaged in a certain way. Interesting, because I remember when I went to a Muhammad Toblah's talk like 10 years ago or something, right? When he and he said, "I'm speaking to you guys. I'm not speaking to a non-Muslim audience." And he was like, he's like harsh truths.
Yeah.
And he was like, the reason I do this is because my da'wah is wake up the Muslim.
Yes.
Like, I'm telling you guys things that you know. I'm telling you guys things that you already know. But it's like, come on, wake up now. And that's the first time I thought to myself, there's like almost like different categories here, right?
Correct.
However, one question I have for you is, so it sounds like essentially like the route that you're going down with the content is like motivational content that's grounded in the deen, Islamic principles.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. Are you ready for, just even for how the fact that you've explained that now, are you ready for, like, I know you're not alien to this concept, but like the backlash that you may get from people who are saying you're running away from the deen and things like that kind of conversation, that's always going to be close to follow.
100%. The thing with that, Faisal, is that I've never spoken about any other da'i online, ever. I've never mentioned any names. I've never got involved in petty beef. And if ever my name is tarnished, it basically is just done by a few people. Like, okay, cool, there was a brother, he made a refutation video about me, right? And like, he made a refutation video about me, and the refutation video, I was wondering, what is it? I'm thinking, what can he say about me? And it was a vocal track that I was basically promoting, right, to get people onto one of my lists, right? So I got Ilyas Mao to make me a vocal track, etc. And when he made the refutation video, he said that do not listen to this, listen to the Quran instead. It's Noor, Quran is Noor, and all these things, etc. And then he started mentioning that we shouldn't be following people like. I was not offended at all whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. Because I understand the ikhtilaf there. I fully get it, bro.
Fine.
And I don't mind that. That did not annoy me at all. Wallahi, bro, it didn't annoy me at all whatsoever.
Does any feedback upset you? Any like public, like sharing the clears, people like saying?
I'll tell you the thing, right? If I know that I'm doing something that's poking the bear a bit, right? Then maybe, yeah, and I've stopped doing that, right? So basically, like, yeah, thanks to this guy.
You put the bear a couple times, bro.
Oh,
trust
yes.
me, there was a lot of bears that
bears
still in drafts.
Yeah, archived.
Yeah.
Right? So the bear was poked quite a few times. But the point being is, I'll tell you what, I didn't know social media the way I know it now, right? I thought content had to be scroll stopping. And I didn't realize that there's ways to do it in such a way that is value driven and you don't poke the bear. And the reality is, bro, is that I made mistakes, 100%, and I know I made mistakes because they were human, right? And alhamdulillah, having Nazir by my side, where he basically would be like, you can't be posting stuff like that. You can't be going in like that, bro. You can't. Now, every now and again, life does get a bit boring, and I'm just like, okay, cool. Like, maybe like, we spice you up a little bit, etc.
Yeah.
But it's not. My words are very carefully chosen now.
Yeah, there'll always be a little bit of that, you're right, because the haqq is a haqq, and sometimes people just like are gonna get their back up about the haqq, right? Like,
correct.
We're not willing to waver on our deen to please people.
Correct,
but
yeah.
you're right. Like, I remember I spoke to Ustad Yahya Rabi on a podcast about it kind of relates to this. But just in general, just being sharp with your tongue, harsh with your words and things like this. Generally speaking, I'm not saying for all cases, but generally speaking, like, we're meant to be soft in our approach to things. Yeah. And he said that the deen covers absolutely everything. There's nothing that's not covered. Even we know how to answer the call of nature. Like the little things there. Yet the fact that I said the call of nature, that in itself, look at a beautification of the way you're not saying some harsh. And also, was saying this. He goes like, even when you look at, like, he was giving evidences from the Quran when Allah speaks about some matters like intimacy between husband and wife and how it's worded and things like this. And he said, generally speaking, like swearing, saying harsh things, and being sharp and kind of poking the bear in the general context,
it's not a superior method.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's just generally, it's not a superior method. And some people like me, I can be like that as well. Sometimes we have to unlearn these habits as well.
Yeah, this is
how
true.
we speak to our family, our friends, our children. It might not be the same way we speak to the public.
Subhanallah, bro. I was at AdCon, and there was a public speaking segment, right, where he spoke about how, and he was just like speaking so angrily, but you're saying the nicest things, and then he said, "You guys are all fools, just incredible fools, and I'm just so happy that all you fools are here," right? And we all just didn't feel so offended. It was, but you can say that it's honestly, tonality is so key in all of this. And I've learned, bro, that subhanallah, like, as in that that is me though. Like, I'm not in your face kind of guy.
Well,
like
it's
that.
amazing to see that you have. It's very rare to sit in front of someone who says, "Oh, actually, I made a mistake here. I've learned about this." It is rare because you don't hear that often. I think I commend you on that. I'm pivoting and changing these things. I noticed this was probably not the best approach and stuff like that.
Yeah, because you know what it is, bro? You have to realize that online, it's an amana, bro. It's a responsibility. The mic is given to everyone now. And so if I have got, these amount of followers, there's a responsibility on that now. Because previously it was a case of, cool, you're breaking through, right? Now it's a case of you're kind of out on your own a little bit. And it's like, because my growth is quite predictable now. Like, we know how much we're gonna grow by Allah's grace, and now it's more and more and more and more, and it's now getting into that kind of whole realm of motivational speakers, kind of like we've been invited by the 1 billion follower summit, to speak at the content creation summit there in January.
Oh, not the one that just went, because you were here for the one that just went.
I was here for the one that just went,
but now you've been invited to speak.
So this is it.
Okay,
but that's sharing the stage with Jay Shetty, Simon Squibb, all of these other people, etc. And I've said that I want to go into that. I was at AdCon as well. I was getting approached by non-Muslims, etc., who have seen my content, etc. People who were on stage came off, started talking to me, etc. And there's opportunities that can open up now in this motivation space, etc. by a da'i. I mean, this is unheard of.
But
right?
do you ever get scared that you can lose your way with the deen? Is that a fear that's in the back of your head or not?
So here's the thing: if I don't have the right people around me, 100%, you can kind of go off with the fairies. It's very easy to have that, right? And both my younger brothers are Medina University students. I do an Umrah in Ramadan with Abu Taymiyyah every year. I have mechanisms around me, my own community, the brothers around me, etc. Right? They're all du'at, all brothers, tulab al-ilm. They're not like shoddy, wash down people, etc. Right? My household, bro, is like, full on, like in that sense. I'm a da'i, bro. I've been given da'wah. Da'wah is my aim. My whole project, Criterion Group, is a da'wah project. But the thing is that there is a persona that you can create to reach bigger audiences and to be non-threatening to those audiences as well. And when you can get them into a funnel, which is what I'm trying to understand now, how can we get them into a funnel or a loop or some way where we can just slowly just sprinkle a bit of deen, a bit of Islam, just awaken that fitrah? How can we get that fitrah, just sparkle it, just lighten it up a little bit, just jolt it, get it going, right? So thinking of ways of writing a book, etc., doing other things, poetry that I've started going into as well, a few other different like avenues we're exploring. But the point being, bro, is that at the end of the day, da'wah is the aim. But how we package it and how we do it is a different thing. Being scared and having muhasabah, accountability, bro, wallahi, that's part and parcel of who we all are, right? More so for people in the public space, right? But having murabbis, having people around you, and having the niyyah and the grounding, I think is probably the most important thing, bro. Wallahi, both my younger brothers are, students in the jamia, so for them, they slap me up, bro. If I do anything off key, they are not afraid to tell me because they have the most unfiltered mouth ever with me. You know what I mean? So I've got that accountability there, and I appreciate that. And obviously Nazir is a Muslim as well, so he is the closest person to me when it comes to the content.
But I don't think he's that way inclined in terms.
No,
of
I know, and I don't.
But it's a good question. No. It's a very good question, though.
Even from a third party perspective, let's take you two out of it, and even from my observation of him, he's not that way inclined. Even now,
I agree.
We've been to nice places. We've come here in a nice car. It's not something. I'm not going to describe the car, but it's a nice car.
Yeah.
He's not someone that wants to put that up and show off and kind of show that he's this big guy and he's got this many followers. Actually, I've met and I've worked with people that have way less followers than him and much bigger egos.
But you don't have to out me like that, bro. It's not on my own podcast, right?
Listen, I know. Can I just say something? Yeah. He's the one that's pushing me to actually do that, bro. Subhanallah.
Yeah.
Like, as in, he's the one that's pushing me and saying it will look nice. It will look nice. I'm just like, listen, man. Why have we got this car?
Not to a point where it's like showing off or anything.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you're always going to be the businessman.
Yeah,
you can't change about Nazir.
No,
It's in his blood, bro.
We spoke about it in the car.
He thinks in business.
He does, no. He is, honestly. Look, we spoke about this in the car, right?
In an ethical, moral way.
So this is what we said. What's the end game here? The end game is, for me, Criterion Group is basically creating, I can tell you more about it, but it's basically understanding, firstly, that influence is done through how you make people feel, etc. And through that, we want to create a system where we can basically scale that in the West. That's our project, but that needs funds. So how do we get funds into there? We need to be able to work on this project. How do we work on this project while still focusing on these businesses? We need to be able to monetize our platform. How do we monetize our platform? We make ourselves more marketable. How do you make yourself more marketable? You make sure that it's perceived, your perception is also inflated as well. How do you make your perception to be more inflated? You create some type of lifestyle that is being displayed. Therefore, people see that this person is not in need and his cup is already full, etc. Then the negotiating power, you have the upper hand. And that is how you reverse engineer everything. The niyyah starts with what? The da'wah work. When the da'wah work gets taken care of, then you reverse engineer all it. That's why you dress a little bit differently. That's why you look a certain way. That's why maybe you drive a different car. Not because we're trying to sell a course, because we're not doing that. We are trying to literally present ourselves in a more marketable way that the value perception is increased. And as that value perception in the eyes of the public is increased, that this guy's cup is already full, he doesn't really need us. When negotiating on the table, etc., the deal is we have the upper hand always, right? The followers, the lifestyle, all these sort of things, etc. It just adds up. Why? So that we can get more money from our partners, as we can get more collaborations, more deals, more things through the door. I'm giving all the bloody secrets away. Sorry, man.
No, it's fine.
And then what we do is I can focus on the da'wah work.
I'm done anyway. You get to close the company
Yeah,
down.
exactly.
Down, bro.
Oh my gosh. No, but fine, it makes sense. I was with you mentioned the 1 billion summit, and but that last time that the 1 billion summit happened, I was with Sunny. I went after the second day. We went and grabbed some dessert together. We were talking. He was like, I just was with Shaib, and he said, what was the point in the story? He was like, I was with Shaib, and literally he's like, oh, here you go, like the guy's just getting stopped. And that's I asked you about that. So like, you've obviously in the last couple of years, it's grown so much that public perception has also grown, like, as you've mentioned. How has that been? Like, is it every time you leave the house, like you're getting stopped, and how are you handling those conversations, and also how are you handling it from a nafs perspective and an ego perspective? Because obviously, we know from our pious predecessors, like they say, like it's only because of Allah's beautiful cover that we even have any sort of izzah, right? But then it's so easy for us to become like, whoa, like it happens to all of us. But it's on a different scale, bro, because of the following that you have. So how do you manage that, and has that increased?
Yeah, no, subhanAllah, bro. Okay, so very good question, bro. And I think, Faisal, it all comes back down to kind of one thing, and that is muhasaba, the level of accountability that you bring upon yourself. I feel that the tarbiyah that I had growing up was pure deen, Islamic, with my masjid, my community, etc., being with the people on the ground, etc. And now there's this new life now, right? And so, and I keep going back to this, the Criterion Group, which is the project that I'm kind of working on, right? You know, really, really deeply. It's a project that actually doesn't make sense for who I am. And I'll tell you why. In my position now, it's easy for me to fly business, go to different countries, give lectures, get a good pay package, create content, monetize, make money, look like the guy. What I've just done right now with this launching this project is going back onto the ground, building teams, training du'at, having people turn up late to meetings, dealing with human resources. It's just the total opposite of what the direction you should be going in, right? And I made this decision so consciously because I was like, I started to feel a little bit that my nafs was just enjoying this life a little bit, right? And I said to myself, wallahi, like, as in, what is the point of the Sunnah Guy? What is the point of all this platform? What's the point of all of this, etc.? And then launching this project, bro, by Allah. I launched this project and I did it, and on the 3rd of Ramadan, I basically stood in Qiyam, and it was as if, wallahi, it was as if wahi was coming to me, bro. I was like, I was reading Surah Al-Waqi'ah, and I remember reading it, and I was like, as I was reading, I was just reading about, you know, the terrors of the Day of Judgment and what's happening, etc. And I was reading it very slowly as well. And as I was reading, I was like, SubhanAllah, we need to save mankind. We need to save people. The intention, the niyyah just started getting refreshed, but wallahi, and that's something that, you know, when it happens, when Allah gifts you that, bro, Allah gives you this kind of insight that we need to save people, and that intention becomes kind of pure. That's a gift from Allah, because it doesn't come all the time. There's so many times throughout life where it's just mundane and your intention gets corrupt and all these things happen, etc. But when you get that juice there, you should act upon it. So the moment I got that, I went to Fajr Salah and I met a brother. I said, we're doing this project. We're going to do this. We're going to do this, bro. I'm telling you, we're going to do this. We're going to make it incredible. And it just didn't make sense for my brand or my trajectory or anything. And I know even when I told him, wallahi, he's excited about everything whenever I tell him something. But when I tell him, it's pretty good. Yeah.
No, I mean, it's a good project, but I'm conscious of we've been constantly launching projects for the last 2 years. That's the thing, isn't it? Every few months there's a new project, and once we get something off the ground, so it was more from a kind of, okay, how are we going to manage this now?
I know.
Not necessarily because the project, alhamdulillah, is big. It's your projects are always ambitious. That's the main thing, and you know, you don't go to save High Wycombe, right? You start talking about saving the world,
yes.
which is a much bigger achievement if you can do that.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? Is I remember when I said that, okay, I'm going to launch this, you're normally very excited, and I noticed your tone wasn't the same there, because I noticed that you thought, what the hell is he just going to go do now? You know what I mean? And that's when I realized that, you know what, this thing just doesn't make sense. And so for me, Faisal, it was a case of, I basically realized that, you know what, doing this again is my way of cleansing my niyyah as well, consciously, because it takes you away from the whole celebrity status, bro.
But that's so powerful, and it's reminded me of a story that one of our teachers told us that I can just never forget. And it was a story about this big sheikh who was giving a lecture on stage, and there was other people who were on stage with this sheikh giving lectures, and it was coming up to the time for the sheikh to do his talk, and they couldn't find him. They're like, where is he? And long story short, they end up finding him cleaning the toilets, bro, in the thing, because when they questioned him about it, he was like, he basically did it because it was like, I'm about to go on stage and speak in front of thousands of people. I need to humble myself and remind myself, like, this is not for me. This is not about people, like, and so to clean, like, people's dirt, bro. It's like to remind you of how low you are. But that story inspired me so much. It's just never left me. And it's exactly like what you're saying. Like, you have to go back to the ground. You have to remind yourself, because otherwise you can guess. And so anytime I find myself like doing a dirty job in that sense, right? Like if I'm like, you know, it might be like my son's vomited on me, and then I'm I'm like, you know, the toilet's blocked at home. I'm the man in the house, but I've got to get myself in it. And I'm doing those jobs. I think to myself, remember that, like, yeah, who else is going to do it? Like, this is the reality, bro. Like, someone's got to clean this toilet. You know what I mean? And that's who you are. Like, imagine if your followers saw you now. Like, that's just who you are. So
big time, bro. Bro, I tell you what, yeah. So there was a point, and I'm just going to be real. There was a point about 2 years ago when my wife would not respect the fact that I'm on social media in the way that I'd want her to,
Right.
I'd get slightly agitated. I'm like, can you not see what's happening? Like the growth and blah, blah. Now, she's still the same, by the way, right? Basically, but I love her for that.
Yeah.
It's subhanAllah, it's crazy how it changed, bro. I love the fact that she does not respect my social media growth.
Yeah.
Because, and I genuinely enjoy the fact that she doesn't respect it, is because it's a great way of having people around you that hold you accountable. My younger brother, for example, right? He doesn't respect that either. And like, there was a lot of friction when I first started doing it, etc. He was just calling me out. He's saying, that doesn't sound like vocals. What are you doing? Look, you're losing your deen. I subhanAllah, really agitated with him. And then like, now it's a case of like, I actually really enjoy this whole element of accountability, is because I've seen what it's like when you can just let go a little bit, bro. And I don't like it, because it's like, it's wallahi, bro, there is no life except the life of the hereafter. And that is that is ultimately everything that there is only to live for, bro.
Sorry.
Wallahi. And we were yesterday in the MMA club, right? And we got a driver driving us around, etc. There are flipping 4 cameras out there, etc. People, taking videos, taking pictures, everything coming in. Everyone's waiting for you, and you're going out. And I got back into the car, and like, we're on the way back to the hotel. And I said to the driver, I was like, bro, can you just put some Quran on? Just put some Quran on, bro, because my soul is just like, your soul can just start gravitating towards this stuff in such a way. It's like a magnet, bro. That life is so alluring. But I think when you start reading the athar of the Salaf, and you start understanding like what they did in terms of their zuhud, in terms of how they were so against all of this stuff, and how they pushed back consciously, that's when you start realizing, wallahi, this is why these men took nations within years.
It's such a perfect balance as well. I remember one of the first khutbahs that I listened to, or was in Jummah in Cardiff, like 12, 13 years ago, was the Imam was talking about the ideal Muslim man. And he said the ideal Muslim man is someone who hates to be known, like he hates fame, but he's famous anyway because of his character, because of who he is. It's so much respect for him in the community, because he's like helping the community. He's like got great character that he's famous for that. But he himself is like, so look at that push and pull, right? Like he's pulling away from it, but then he gets it, and then that's like the kind of perfect balance in that way. So
and Imam Malik said this. He said that the sincere person is the one that is in constant fear of his intentions being correct, and then when he starts to get to that point where you're like, wow, I'm in constant fear, so that means I'm sincere. But wait a minute, am I sincere? There's waswas, and the scholars have said that the waswas is only good in that instance, where you basically start doubting yourself. And the mental health people, they will all kind of say, oh, what the hell, that's wrong, because you're going to have OCD in you. But that's the only time OCD is actually good, is when it's to do with your niyyah, because it has to be something that's kept pure. And the person that doesn't focus on that, or doesn't worry about that, is the one that's doomed. So the fact that if you start to basically think that this lifestyle is good and this is good, and you don't put things in place to channel that energy away from that magnetic force, that's when you get lost. And that's why I think it's important to have good people around you that can just tell you the right things, etc., and give you those nudges in the right direction.
Yeah, man. Look, may Allah put barakah in it, bro. Like, I think that this is the first time I think we've been able to connect on like such a long conversation. It's been lovely, and we've been connected over the past few months. Alhamdulillah, we've been in touch a little bit more, and some of the brothers created a group, so like everyone's keeping each other up to date, which is really nice. It's actually really nice because you kind of like in this, everyone's keeping each other up to date, and like everyone's in the same, like in similar kind of like roles and places, kind of like phases building things. Well, so it's really nice. So it's lovely to have you, Nazir. Absolutely amazing to have you as well, bro. It's like just phenomenal. Thank you so much, guys, for coming to you guys are the first guests in my new studio as well.
Alhamdulillah.
How does it feel, man?
Bro, it feels incredible. Do you know what? The table feels right.
Yes, it's a very nice table.
You've been banging on about this.
The table feels right.
No. Listen. I know what. Wallahi, this is. I can't believe you got this, because now I want this as well.
Yeah, bro.
It's so good, bro.
I've got the connect for you. If we can, I don't know if we can get it shipped over to the UK. Is that possible?
Yeah,
we'll figure it out.
Bro, this is amazing.
Bro, custom, bro. Like, it was like, I actually said, I said to Ash, I was like, could it be, because this is 3 meters by 1.2, and I was like, can we do 3 meters by 1.8? He goes, do you know how big of a tree we'd have to find? But this is a big tree,
Where'd you get it from? Where does this stuff come from?
That's him,
I
innit?
don't know. This is just
It's imported in, but
okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
man, it's nuts.
Amazing,
So,
man.
but yeah, man, alhamdulillah, it's been nice and the logo's got bigger. It feels nice, man. It's fun. It's been a long time coming that we have our own studio space and things like that. And even like, you know, off mic, you guys talk about the intro, but for such a long time, I've wanted to have such a hype. I think my natural personality is very extroverted.
Yes.
And I love being around extroverts. And I like, you know, thrive off of
Feed
other
off
people's
that
energy and
energy,
stuff like that. And when, for the last 3 years, we've been doing this at home, I basically got a house. When I got the house, I got it with a studio in mind first.
Wow.
So I came over here, left, and then my wife and kids came after because I was trying to find a private place where I can build a studio first and they can live in it second, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then, but then, bro, first we outgrew, but second, well, then we had another kid. My kids got older and things like that. And then also, I got my wife living in the house, and so you got people coming, and not everyone you know. So then it's like, I don't really love the idea of people, everyone knowing she's having to like go and I think this isn't right. It's not good for anymore. But also, you can't have that energy because, bro, we're recording sometimes at 8 o'clock at night. Kids went to sleep at 7. It's like you got to be quiet. It just wasn't working. I was like, I need a space where the brothers. For me, Freshly Ground has always been, even if it's a one-on-one podcast, 4 or 5 brothers around, and they're all mic'd up, and they just. Yo, Shoaib, you just said, but what about...
I love that. I love
that. So I was like, how can I create a vibe? So I was like, I need a big open plan office where from every angle it looks like a set. And it's like, and then you could just, the brothers are working, but and you have the energy, you have vibes. So inshallah, that's the kind of vibe. And
I love that, bro. You've got like a bit of a kind of like sideman-esque kind of like social media, people having this kind of loose convo together, but in a very contained Muslim environment.
That's important. And
So
bro,
important.
like yourself, bro, I think there's not big enough space for it where it's like you can become mainstream
So this is it.
and keep it completely ethical. But I'm not talking about ethical in terms of like, oh, they're Muslims. I'm talking like conservative, bro.
This is it.
And I think you can do it. So
this is the
but
challenge.
you can grow it, bro. Now you can grow it, bro. Now you can, because I think like
I think you can.
No, we can. No, I'm saying we can. But how, you know...
Oh, how do you get more people to be on that mindset? Yeah.
I think we got to create more of a convo.
Yeah.
Well, I think so. I agree. Yeah, I agree. And you got to show people that, raw, that man did it without, bro, the fact that someone could look at 400 episodes, especially Guarded, West End shows, like 20 million views and go, wow, they've never heard one swear word.
Yeah.
Like that is like, you might not listen to one episode and not clock it, and the second episode, or third episode, fourth episode. Eventually you go, eventually you just stop swearing, or swear word sounds a little sharper to you. Like now, you know now because you're so used to not swearing, if you hear another person say swear word, even if it's not a big one, bro, just the S word, it's a little bit sharp. It's like like you can hear.
I'm getting there slowly.
But bro, but you have to get to that point where you're consuming such clean, but then it's also exciting. It's also interesting. But sometimes, bro, we've had people listening to the podcast who are like. They were like fully on the road life, bro, fully. Yeah. But it was but when they were listening to Freshly Ground, it was like, wow, I could listen to something that I don't think is neeks. I don't think it's not like
this
just like
is
kids
it,
who are
bro.
like, but I can relate, I can laugh, and actually the jokes are kind of funny. This guys having conversations, but I feel like I can listen. And slowly, bro, these men end up like, all right, now I end up getting married. I end up leaving that behind because I'm not a married man now. But I'm not. Again, it's not all from the podcast. But if you can just shift the mindset a bit, where you know what, you can be normal, cool, young, whatever, have a laugh, but you don't have to go outside boundaries at all. You don't have to swear, expose sins, whatever, bro. All of the different.
I think you've done really well. Like even those years.
But I think there's a collective thing.
2017.
Yes,
look when
there's a
started.
collective.
Bro, there's a collective. I'll tell you why. Because
100%.
there comes a time, bro, when you think it seems like the thing that makes sense right now is short form content. Let me do a minute every single day, put out content every single day. But then you go, that's not the right way to approach it. And I'll tell you why. Because it's a collective. If someone's filling that gap, you're like, but hold on a second. What's special and unique to us? What's our unfair advantage? It's the podcast. We started a podcast 10 years ago. We're coming up to our 10-year anniversary in 2027, yeah? 10 years ago, we started a podcast. The vibe that we can create in the podcast is a very difficult vibe to create. That's our USP. Yeah. How can we double down on that and get more of that rather than going, but it seems like what's going well is this. Let's be like, nah, Shoaib's got this covered. Like, all right, where can we support Shoaib? And then likewise, like from podcasting, where can we get that? So I think it's a bit of that.
That is building though, that collaborative approach.
Bro, honestly, subhanAllah, faces. As you're saying this, my mind is opening up. I'm just thinking, why haven't we spoken more about this, bro?
Yeah,
honestly, think about it, because we're both like, you're doing like, a TED talk,
right,
bro. Like, come on, that's mainstream, right?
Right.
if I'm getting to the 1 billion followers, bro, we're now slowly creeping into those spaces that are mainstream, and we're conservative Muslims. We don't have women in our content. We don't have swear words. We don't use any music. We have, conservative mashayikh and ustads who are murabbis, etc. Subhanallah, bro, we have so much in common in that sense, in that space. Shouldn't we create more of a convo? Shouldn't we have like more of a discussion about it? Shouldn't we try and maybe get more people to start thinking with the way we're thinking as well?
Bro, 100%. And you know what's really interesting? When you were talking to me about your content style, it reminded me of TED and TEDx, because bro, you're not allowed to speak about religion, you're not allowed to speak about politics. So it's like, okay, how do I give a concept that's grounded in Islam? But that was the whole point of it. Was what is the hadith, akhi? The best of people are those who are most beneficial to others. I gave the hadith, but I was like, but I didn't. I said,
Yes.
I said like, I said, but the whole talk's about being beneficial to others. But I'm like, and then at one point I go, but you might be thinking, is that even the point of life? Like what? Like is that even one of the big purposes of life, of benefiting others? And I said, if you look at any major religion to modern psychology, they will all agree on one thing. And then I gave the hadith. I said, the best of people are those who are most beneficial to others. So you can find ways of doing it, right?
Sick.
But I think, you're right. That conversation's happened, but let's keep the conversation open, man, for sure.
100%,
Inshallah.
man.
Guys, jazakallah khair. Honestly, man, I bless you. I know you're very, very busy while you're out here, and you've given me time, so I really appreciate that.
Thank you so
It's
much.
not gone unnoticed.
Thank you for having us,
Inshallah,
bro.
we'll catch you soon.
Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu
Take care,
alaikum.
bro. Assalamu alaikum.
Lovely.
That's a wrap.